Hi, and welcome back to Hill and Ponton's VA Disability Blog. I'm Natalia Joffrey, the company COO.
And I'm attorney Allison Reddick.
So today we're going to be talking about 5 different ways to establish service connection.
Yes.
So Allison, let's talk about number 1.
Okay, number 1, direct service connection. It's probably the one that is utilized the most. You have an injury or an incident in service, you have a current condition, and you need something to show that that current condition is due to what happened to you in service. The easiest way to get this would be looking in your service medical records, looking in your service records. Let's say you participated in a football game. When you're on active duty, you hurt your knee. There is documentation that you went to sick call and got treatment for your knee. The pain never went away. You continued to work through the pain and you still have issues with your knee.
Right.
That would be a way to get direct service connection.
Okay. Number 2, service connection through aggravation.
Yes.
And this does not mean you're aggravated by the VA.
Which I'm sure all of you are.
It should be a service-connected disability.
Yes. A secondary service-connected aggravation.
In terms of establishing service connection, what does it mean?
So what service connection through aggravation means is when you're inducted into the military, you have a medical examination. You have an induction exam. And so if you have any pre-existing conditions, the doctor is supposed to note them. So let's say, similar to the last example, you had a knee injury before. They note it, and then you go into service and you're carrying heavy packs and you're having to do all of this strenuous activity, and your knee is damaged further. Another example would be, let's say you had depression as an adolescent and they note it. Then you go into the military, you're exposed to combat, and it exacerbates it. What's important to note is a lot of the times they don't note it in the entrance examination. But if they do, it has to be shown that your condition has progressed, or your condition has worsened faster than it would in any ordinary circumstances.
Right. So had you not been carrying the 50-pound backpack or, climbing mountains in Afghanistan, this wouldn't have gotten worse if you, in your day-to-day living, if you weren't in the service, in service.
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, presumptive service connection.
So this is a big one as well. Basically, there are certain conditions during certain time periods that you don't have to prove that nexus between something that happened in service and your current condition. It's presumed. So this would be Agent Orange is a huge one for Vietnam veterans. All you have to show is that you were boots on the ground in Vietnam. However, the new legislation expanding that to blue water veterans, they have an easier time getting service connected as well if it's within 12 nautical miles, their ship was.
Can you give them an example, I'm sorry, really quick, of a presumptive condition? Because I know diabetes.
Diabetes is a big one. Parkinson's disease. A lot of cancers. Other examples would be Camp Lejeune, exposure to the contaminated water.
Right.
A lot of cancers with that one. Parkinson's disease. If you were stationed at Camp Lejeune during a certain time period and you are diagnosed with one of those cancers, you don't have to prove a nexus. It's automatically assumed.
Right.
Gulf War syndrome is another one, as well as former prisoners of war.
Right.
If you develop mental condition disorders due to being a prisoner of war, or frostbite or arthritis, things like that, if you're a prisoner of war, you don't have to prove connection. It's automatically presumed.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Number 4, secondary service connection.
Yes. So secondary service connection is common as well because, as you know, a lot of disorders lead to other conditions.
Right.
So we'll go back to the knee condition. You hurt that knee. Well, over time, you started favoring that knee and utilizing the other knee more. That weakened the other knee, and now you have issues with both knees.
Right.
You can get secondary service connected for that other knee condition. You just have to have a diagnosed condition and to show that, and have a doctor's opinion to show that the left knee caused the right knee, or vice versa. Another example would be you have a back condition, you hurt your back in service, and because of that, you develop depression, or anxiety or a mental disorder. As long as you have a diagnosed mental condition and you have a doctor to say, yes, that back condition caused the mental condition, you can get secondary service connection for that.
Is it harder to have a claim for a secondary service connected disability than a direct one?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's harder because for the direct service connection, you have to prove that something happened in service.
Right.
So you have to show that incident in service. Whereas for secondary service connection, you're already service connected for one condition.
Right.
You just have to prove that it caused another condition.
Gotcha.
And the easiest way to do that would be a doctor's opinion or a doctor's diagnosis.
Okay, great. Last one, number 5, service connection, by injury caused by VA healthcare. Gosh, and we see this so often.
Yes, so this happens a lot. There are different ways that you can claim injury by VA healthcare. The most common would be an 1151 claim. So basically what that is you have to prove that because of the carelessness or the negligence of a VA healthcare worker or a VA healthcare facility caused your injury or potentially even your death. It's a higher burden of proof because it's on the veteran or the claimant to show, because of this negligence, my spouse passed away or I incurred this injury. An example of that would be I had a veteran who he had very, very severe PTSD. Because of his PTSD, he developed hypertension. He had a lot of issues with his heart. There was a medical provider who saw that his blood pressure was kind of baselining and took him off his medication. I don't know why they took him off his medication, but what happened, his blood pressure went up, he developed an aneurysm, and he passed away.
Oh, goodness.
So that is a case where one of our arguments is potentially an 1151 claim.
Right.
It's specifically with the VA,
right.
Trying to show that because of negligence or poor care, it caused an injury or a death.
Just because you mentioned that, so if a veteran passes away while their claim is pending, their claim does not necessarily die with them.
No. If they have a spouse, the spouse can apply to substitute for that pending claim. If there isn't a spouse, it can be a dependent. That would be a child under 18 or a child or an adolescent who is in college, or if they don't have that, if they have a dependent parent, and that's based off of the finances, the veteran was supporting that parent. So there are ways to continue that claim.
Okay, great. Thanks, Allison. All right, well, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, please feel free to visit our website or call our office.
Thank you.